The first sign was the silence. Across the world, satellites detected a massive object approaching the solar system, moving faster than anything humans had ever built. At first, most dismissed it as a comet, or perhaps a rogue asteroid. But the data didn't match anything natural. The object changed course, carefully avoiding the sun's glare, and slowed as it entered Earth's orbit. That's when the governments began to panic. Dr. Lila Moreno, a physicist at the Global Space Observation Center in Chile, was the first to see the unmistakable pattern of deliberate maneuvers. Her fingers shook over the keyboard as she sent alerts to the United Nations. This is not natural. Someone, or something, is coming. By the time her warning reached world leaders, millions of people were already glued to live feeds, watching as a sleek, metallic ship descended above the Pacific Ocean. It gleamed in the sunlight, smooth as liquid metal, with lights pulsing along its hull like a heartbeat. Humans had never seen technology so advanced. The ship landed on an uninhabited island near Hawaii, displacing water and creating a small tsunami. From the hatch emerged beings unlike anything in human history. They were tall, their skin pale and reflective, their eyes enormous and dark, absorbing the light around them. Their movements were precise, almost robotic, yet fluid, and they wore no visible weapons. Yet Lila felt a chill run down her spine. These beings were calm, confident, and, most disturbing of all, curious. A universal translator device activated automatically. A voice, smooth but emotionless, spoke, "People of Earth, we come in observation and goodwill. We are the Xylaris. We mean no harm." Across the globe, relief swept through the population. Finally, first contact, peaceful and orderly. Humanity had dreamed of this moment for centuries. But not everyone was comforted. Captain Elias Tan of the United Earth Defense Fleet watched the landing feed from his command center in Singapore. "They are too calm," he muttered. "That's not the behavior of peaceful visitors. Watch their eyes." He wasn't sure what he expected, perhaps rage or fear, but the Xylaris displayed none. Only calculation. That lack of emotion, that cold assessment, was terrifying. In Geneva, at the United Nations, leaders prepared for the first diplomatic meeting. President Amina Bashir of the Global Council spoke calmly to her staff, "We must appear cooperative. Our science, culture, and military technology will be scrutinized." She knew that every gesture mattered. Every mistake could be interpreted as hostility. And the Xylaris seemed to notice everything. The first meeting was conducted in a massive hall equipped with floating holographic displays. Humans brought samples of technology, satellites, drones, solar arrays, medical innovations. The Xylaris examined each with slow, deliberate gestures, tilting their heads in ways that seemed almost mocking. "Primitive," one of them finally commented, and the word was translated instantly. "Your species relies on fragile materials and slow computation." Fascinating, but insufficient. The diplomats froze. They had expected curiosity, perhaps admiration, but not derision. Dr. Moreno, observing from a distance, whispered to her colleague, "They don't see us as equals. They see us as children." The Xylaris smiled, or at least what humans interpreted as a smile, an expression that made Lila's stomach twist. It wasn't friendly. It was the kind of smile predators show when they study prey. Over the next week, the Xylaris toured Earth's research centers, cities, and military installations. They asked questions, but their answers were vague. "You are developing," they would say. "Interesting, for a developing species." Yet in their calm assessment, humans detected a subtle, unspoken judgment. They thought humans were weak. They thought humans were slow. They thought humans could be easily controlled. Then, the first warning arrived. Ships began appearing in orbit, not above the planet, but in positions designed to observe. Human communications started experiencing interference. Satellites flickered, signals dropped. At first, engineers blamed technical glitches. But when multiple systems failed simultaneously worldwide, a pattern emerged. The Xylaris were testing Earth's defenses, probing its weaknesses without firing a shot. Lila and her team worked tirelessly to decode the interference, discovering that the Xylaris energy waves were harmless but extraordinarily advanced. They could have disabled the planet if they wanted, but they hadn't. They were experimenting, analyzing, observing. And humans began to realize the terrifying truth: the Xylaris had no need to attack yet. They believed it unnecessary. They believed humanity was too insignificant to resist. Meanwhile, small groups of humans began to prepare. Captain Tan, General Shiresh Patel of India, and Commander Nora Lind of the United States secretly convened to discuss potential strategies. "They are too advanced," Nora said, scanning the orbital maps. "But they are predictable. Watch how they move, how they analyze. That's their strength, and their weakness." Elias nodded grimly. Underestimating humans is their mistake. And humans have never been predictable. The first skirmish was not with weapons, but with ingenuity. Lila's team discovered a way to slightly alter the Xylaris scanning frequencies using modified satellites. The Xylaris noticed the interference immediately, their eyes widening in surprise. They had assumed total dominance, absolute control. And in that moment, humans realized something powerful. Being underestimated gave them an advantage. Across the globe, underground resistance cells began forming quietly. Civilians, scientists, engineers, and former soldiers banded together. They practiced communication in encrypted channels, shared information about the Xylaris patrols, and prepared contingency plans. No one spoke openly yet. The world still hoped for peace. But beneath that hope simmered determination. Humanity was not going to surrender, not quietly, not easily. On the island where the Xylaris first landed, a young engineer named Hannah Kim crouched in the jungle, watching their movements. She had created a device that could amplify small electromagnetic pulses to interfere with alien sensors. If used wisely, it could provide humans a critical edge. Hannah whispered to herself, "They don't know what we're capable of, yet." And so, the stage was set. The Xylaris watched Earth, confident in their judgment. They thought humans weak, slow, and naive. But every hidden lab, every whispered plan, every quietly prepared strategy was proof of a species that refused to bow. The coming months would test both species, but one thing was clear: humans were ready to surprise the universe. The sun had barely risen over Eastern Europe when the first Xylaris strike hit. Without warning, massive ships descended silently above Budapest. The city's modern skyline was dwarfed by their towering hulls, smooth metal reflecting the pale morning light. Civilians ran in panic as the ship's energy beams cut through buildings with surgical precision. Colonel Andrei Novak, a retired officer who had returned to Hungary to visit family, watched in horror from the Danube riverbank. His heart pounded. "It's not an attack for conquest," he muttered to himself. "It's an inspection. They're measuring us, testing our reactions." The Xylaris were methodical. They did not indiscriminately slaughter. People were stunned, trapped, and immobilized by the ship's advanced containment fields. Their energy weapons disintegrated walls, disabled vehicles, and reduced military hardware to scrap, but life itself seemed almost secondary to their calculations. Where humans expected devastation, the aliens applied precision, almost as if conducting a scientific experiment. In the chaos, Andrei spotted a group of civilians trying to rescue trapped neighbors. They carried buckets of water, fire extinguishers, and debris to free people from collapsed buildings. He realized something crucial: humans did not freeze in terror. Humans adapted. Even as the city burned, ordinary people improvised, organized, and helped each other survive. Elsewhere, Dr. Lila Moreno and her team scrambled to communicate with world leaders. Satellite networks flickered, communications were disrupted, yet through sheer ingenuity, the humans managed to hack the Xylaris interference, creating a temporary channel to warn cities in advance. It was a minor victory, but it bought lives. Meanwhile, small pockets of resistance began forming spontaneously. Farmers in the Carpathian Mountains used hunting rifles and homemade traps to ambush alien patrols. Mechanics in Prague modified agricultural machinery into mobile barricades. Even schoolchildren contributed, setting early warning devices to alert neighborhoods of approaching ships. The aliens, confident in their superiority, did not anticipate this. Every action humans took was unpredictable, improvisational, and clever. In Japan, Commander Keiko Tanaka led a team of engineers and ex-military personnel in a hidden factory beneath Osaka. They had managed to reverse engineer minor Xylaris devices left behind during scouting missions. "It's crude," she said, holding a glowing handheld energy pulsometer, "but it works. Against a patrol ship, it can disable their sensors for 30 seconds. 30 seconds is enough." Her team nodded grimly. They knew 30 seconds could save lives, or destroy a ship if used creatively. On the other side of the Atlantic, in Brazil, a small village had its own encounter. Xylaris surveyors had landed to collect mineral samples. The villagers, armed only with machetes and courage, set traps in the surrounding forest. The aliens moved with grace, but their sensors were unfamiliar with tangled vines, hidden pits, and unexpected ambush points. By the time the Xylaris realized, several had been temporarily disabled. For the first time, they seemed uncertain. In the underground bunkers of New York City, General Maria Rodriguez coordinated human efforts. Her wall of screens displayed pockets of resistance across the globe, isolated skirmishes, successful ambushes, and civilians saving one another. "They think we are weak," she said firmly to her officers. "They think they can control us with technology. But humans adapt. Humans survive. And humans fight back, even when the odds are impossible." At the Xylaris command ship hovering over the Atlantic, Commander Xylar, a senior tactician, studied the reports. "These creatures," he murmured, "they are not reacting as expected. Their actions are chaotic yet effective. They do not flee. They do not beg. They resist." His superior, Grand Arbiter Solon, dismissed the observation initially. "Insignificant. They are primitive. We will crush them with our next phase." But Xylar's unease lingered. Even now, he could not understand how a species so technologically inferior could still pose a threat. Back in Hungary, Andrei Novak and a group of survivors discovered a hidden cache left by Xylaris scientists, a small experimental device capable of emitting electromagnetic pulses. Andrei realized its potential. If humans could reverse engineer it, they could disrupt alien patrols and communication systems. He whispered to the group, "This is our chance. We may be small, but we are clever. Let's turn this to our advantage." Across the world, the same pattern emerged. Scattered groups of humans, disconnected yet united by instinct, began exploiting the Xylaris' rigid reliance on advanced technology. Humans used cities' layouts, forests, and mountains to their advantage. They hid in plain sight, lured patrols into traps, and salvaged alien devices to understand their weaknesses. Yet the human resistance was far from perfect. Many cities fell entirely under alien control. Millions lived in fear, trapped under Xylaris surveillance. Entire military units were annihilated. But for every defeat, humans learned. They recorded, analyzed, and improvised faster than the aliens could predict. Every small victory became a spark, and sparks grew into flames of hope. In a hidden command center beneath the Andes, a young hacker named Mateo Alvarez managed to break into an alien observation network. "They're analyzing everything, our cities, our communications, even our habits," he said, awe and fear in his voice. "But they are predictable. They think like mathematicians, not like humans. And humans are chaos incarnate." With careful coding, he created a virus that disrupted alien surveillance in one district of Buenos Aires, a victory that would save countless lives and give human fighters a tactical edge. As night fell across the globe, humans whispered their first defiant words, "We are not powerless." Across continents, resistance cells worked in secret, sharing knowledge, adapting alien technology, and coordinating small strikes. The Xylaris had expected surrender. They had expected fear. Instead, they found a species that refused to bow, a species capable of strategy, creativity, and unpredictable courage. And so the fire in the shadows burned. Humanity, scattered and wounded, began to rise. The Xylaris had underestimated the greatest weapon Earth possessed, not machines, not numbers, not brute force, but human ingenuity, resilience, and refusal to submit. The war had begun, and the first taste of resistance had changed everything. The winter wind cut across the frozen plains of Siberia, whipping snow into blinding sheets. Yet inside the hidden caves near Lake Baikal, humans were working feverishly. It was here that Dr. Annika Petrov and her team of engineers, scientists, and former military officers had gathered. They had scavenged alien technology from the battlefield, small drones, energy rifles, and communication devices, and were beginning to understand how the Xylaris machines worked. Annika held a glowing, cylindrical device that pulsed with soft blue light. "If we can modify the energy matrix," she explained to the gathered group, "we can turn this weapon against their patrols. It's not perfect, but it can create a short blackout in a ship's systems." Her assistant, Thomas, nodded. "We can make dozens within a week. Enough to give local resistance cells an edge." Elsewhere, in the deserts of Nevada, a former NASA astronaut named Jackson Kim organized a group of volunteers to construct improvised spacecraft defense turrets. They used scavenged Xylaris sensor arrays, reinforced with human engineering, to monitor orbital activity and provide early warnings of alien sorties. "They expect us to panic," Jackson said, "but instead, we'll anticipate them. Every second counts." The human resistance was no longer isolated. Using hacked alien communication channels, resistance leaders across the globe began to coordinate. Small victories in one city were shared with others, and strategies evolved faster than the Xylaris could respond. In Brazil, villagers who had ambushed alien harvesters shared their trap designs with teams in Africa. In Europe, engineers who had reverse-engineered alien rifles sent blueprints to underground factories. But the Xylaris noticed. Commander Xylar on the command ship over the Mediterranean furrowed his brow. Reports were pouring in, alien patrols disrupted, energy systems disabled temporarily, minor attacks coordinated across cities. "This is unexpected," he muttered. "The humans are learning, adapting, collaborating." Back in the Andes, Mateo Alvarez, the hacker, worked tirelessly to create a network that connected isolated resistance cells without alerting Xylaris sensors. "It's a spider web," he explained. "One attack triggers another somewhere else. The more unpredictable we are, the more they falter." His team cheered quietly. This was the first time humans were able to manipulate alien systems on a global scale. In New Delhi, Commander Priya Malhotra oversaw the construction of underground shelters and mobile strike teams. Using intelligence gathered from the hacked alien networks, her teams executed precision raids on resource collection facilities. The Xylaris expected humans to remain confined to hiding. Instead, they struck fast and disappeared before retaliation could arrive. Each raid yielded more alien equipment for study and more confidence for the human fighters. Meanwhile, in the North Atlantic, a convoy of Xylaris supply ships approached Reykjavik. Local Icelandic fishermen, former Navy personnel, and volunteer engineers had constructed underwater traps using salvaged alien energy cores. As the convoy entered the fjord, a series of controlled detonations disabled 2 ships in seconds. The survivors scrambled, confused and terrified. "They're clever," muttered a Xylaris officer, his antennae twitching with unease. Even the civilian population played a role. Teachers, students, and office workers aided in intelligence gathering, spreading misinformation to confuse Xylaris patrols. They hid supplies, provided safe routes, and helped resistance cells move undetected. Every human, no matter how ordinary, became part of the fight. As spring arrived, humanity's coordinated attacks began to challenge Xylaris control in a measurable way. Cities once deemed lost now had small pockets of free zones. Factories produced weapons faster than expected. Humans discovered alien weaknesses. Energy shields were powerful but fragile against short, intense electromagnetic pulses. Alien sensors were sensitive but predictable. Every discovery became another arrow in humanity's quiver. On the Xylaris command ship orbiting over Africa, Commander Xylar convened a council. "The humans are no longer disorganized," he reported. "They move with purpose, strategy, and unpredictability. It is disturbing." His superior, Grand Arbiter Solon, dismissed it at first. "Primitive species cannot challenge us. They cannot sustain this." But the reports kept coming: coordinated strikes, clever traps, sabotage of supply lines, and captured alien tech turned against them. Back on Earth, Andrei Novak led a daring night raid in Budapest. Using reverse-engineered alien stealth devices, his team infiltrated a Xylaris command center, extracted critical intelligence, and escaped without a single casualty. For the first time, human forces struck directly at the heart of alien operations. News of the operation spread instantly to resistance groups worldwide. Annika Petrov and her team successfully mass-produced the modified pulse devices. "We now have a tool that can level the playing field, at least temporarily," she said. Resistance leaders began coordinating attacks on multiple continents simultaneously. From snowy Siberia to tropical rainforests, humans struck with precision, exploiting alien overconfidence and their rigid adherence to protocol. Even the Xylaris soldiers began to feel fear. Patrols became hesitant. Some ships retreated when faced with unexpectedly sophisticated human tactics. Humans no longer ran, they fought with creativity and courage. They adapted, something the Xylaris could not calculate. The tide, once thought unchangeable, was shifting. Humanity, scattered and scarred, was finding its strength not in raw power, but in cunning, unity, and the indomitable will to survive. For the first time, the Xylaris realized that these humans were nothing like the fragile, predictable creatures they had studied. Every setback, every small victory, was a warning. Humanity would not only survive, they would rise. And as the sun set over a recovering world, resistance leaders from every continent silently vowed, "We will take back our world, piece by piece, and show them what humans can truly do." The dawn over New York City was eerily quiet, the skyline scarred by months of occupation. Once a bustling metropolis, it now bore the marks of alien dominance: shattered skyscrapers, silent streets, and the constant hum of Xylaris patrols. Yet beneath the city, in the maze of subway tunnels and abandoned service corridors, humanity's heartbeat pulsed stronger than ever. General Maria Rodriguez stood over the digital map of the city, tracing movement patterns of Xylaris forces. "They think they control this city," she said, her voice steady. "But they haven't accounted for one thing. We fight with unpredictability. Every corner, every street, every building is now our advantage." Around her, officers nodded, some anxious, some excited. This was humanity's turning point. In Paris, a team of engineers and former French military officers rigged the Eiffel Tower with a network of EMP pulses. By nightfall, the city would become a trap for alien drones, a warning that humans would not surrender quietly. In Tokyo, underground resistance units moved silently through the sewers, planting devices to disrupt Xylaris communication nodes above. In Rio de Janeiro, fishermen and ex-soldiers modified river barges with hidden artillery made from stolen alien tech. Humanity was everywhere, connected, and relentless. Meanwhile, on the Xylaris command ship hovering above Europe, Commander Xylar reviewed reports. Their attacks are coordinated, precise, and relentless. They are learning faster than predicted. Their unpredictability is concerning. Grand Arbiter Solon, however, remained dismissive. Insignificant. They cannot sustain this. We control the skies, the seas, and the orbit. They are nothing but insects in a jar. Xylar clenched his metallic hands. Insects with fire in their veins, my lord. And they bite when cornered. The first major strike began in London. Colonel Amir Hassan led a group of 800 resistance fighters through the underground rail system, emerging directly beneath the Xylaris headquarters. Using modified pulse rifles, traps, and guerrilla tactics, they disabled key alien weapons platforms. The humans moved with precision, taking advantage of their knowledge of the city layout and the aliens' rigid formation protocols. By morning, London was partially liberated, the Xylaris scrambling to contain the chaos. In New York, the strategy was even bolder. General Rodriguez's forces coordinated a three-pronged attack. Underground units flooded streets with automated drones, while rooftop snipers targeted alien communication hubs. Meanwhile, mobile strike teams infiltrated occupied buildings, dismantling patrols and seizing resources. Xylaris ships attempted to intervene, but electromagnetic pulses from reverse-engineered devices temporarily disabled their shields, leaving them vulnerable. Across the Atlantic in Africa, resistance forces led by Commander Aisha Mbatha launched simultaneous raids on alien supply convoys. Using modified vehicles and guerrilla tactics, they intercepted critical shipments and captured alien energy cells. Each victory bolstered morale and provided resources for further attacks. Despite these successes, humanity suffered losses. Entire squads were lost in ambushes, and cities like Cairo and Buenos Aires endured brutal counterattacks. Yet every setback taught new strategies. Civilians, soldiers, engineers, all were learning, adapting, and improvising in ways that confounded the Xylaris. Their rigid understanding of warfare was no match for human creativity. In orbit, Xylar's unease grew. Reports of simultaneous uprisings across multiple continents contradicted everything the Xylaris had predicted. They coordinate without centralized control, he said. They adapt faster than our simulations allow. Solon finally acknowledged a creeping fear. Perhaps, this species is more formidable than we assumed. Back on Earth, the human resistance had begun to unite. Leaders from New York, Paris, Tokyo, and Rio communicated through encrypted channels, synchronizing attacks on a global scale. Cities that had once fallen were now being retaken, one block, one street, one building at a time. Humanity was no longer hiding, they were rising, and the world was watching. In Chicago, Colonel Samantha Wright led a daring assault on a heavily fortified alien research facility. Using the stolen alien energy cores, her team created a massive EMP surge that disabled the entire building's defenses. Within minutes, resistance fighters stormed the facility, freeing captured humans and seizing advanced alien technology. This victory was broadcast secretly to resistance cells worldwide, inspiring a wave of coordinated action. Even in space, humans began to strike back. Jackson Kim's team launched modified orbital drones equipped with alien tech, targeting Xylaris observation satellites. By disabling key sensors, humans regained the strategic advantage in several regions. The Xylaris fleet, once untouchable, was forced to operate blind, creating openings for further attacks. The turning point came when humans captured a Xylaris communications array in Berlin. With it, they intercepted messages revealing the aliens' fear of humanity's unpredictability and determination. "They do not understand us," one report read. "Their survival instincts, ingenuity, and capacity for cooperation surpass calculations. They may be dangerous." As night fell across the world, humans celebrated small victories and prepared for larger ones. The tide had shifted. Humanity had shown that even against a technologically superior species, ingenuity, adaptability, and unity could prevail. The fire that had sparked in isolated pockets was now a global blaze, illuminating the path to liberation. And above it all, the Xylaris realized they had underestimated a species that could think, adapt, and fight like no other. Humanity was no longer prey, they were predators in their own right. For the first time, across continents, languages, and cultures, humans whispered a single truth: we are not just survivors. We are reclaimers. We are fighters. And we will not stop. The morning sun cast a pale glow over the ruins of Tokyo, New York, and Berlin. Smoke still lingered over once bustling streets, but the sound of human voices, shouts, signals, and coordinated commands filled the air. Humanity's resistance had grown into a global force. Every city, every village, every hidden bunker contributed to a single purpose: reclaiming their planet. Commander Jackson Kim stood on the deck of the largest human spacecraft ever assembled, the Aurora. It was a hybrid of Earth engineering and stolen Xylaris technology, sleek, agile, and deadly. Around him, 5 other ships, each equally modified, hovered in formation above the Pacific. "Today," Jackson said, his voice steady over the comms, "we show them what humanity can do when we fight together. Nothing will stop us. Not their fleets. Not their weapons. Not even their fear." In orbit above Europe, Xylaris Grand Admiral Vors watched in disbelief. Entire cities were rising against his forces, resistance cells attacking in perfect synchronization. "Impossible," he muttered. "They should have collapsed months ago. They cannot maintain such coordination." His lieutenants exchanged nervous signals. Human unpredictability had evolved into a fully orchestrated counteroffensive. The odds were still against Earth, but the humans' determination was undeniable. On the ground, in the heart of Paris, Colonel Luc Moreau led a multi-pronged assault on the main Xylaris command center. Using underground tunnels and modified alien energy devices, his team disabled shields and cut power to key defensive structures. Within minutes, the command center was overrun. Messages sent from this central hub coordinated attacks across Europe, giving resistance forces the ability to strike simultaneously. It was a symphony of strategy, chaos, and ingenuity. Meanwhile, in the deserts of Nevada, Lieutenant Aisha Rahman and her team launched the final stage of the operation. Using massive, human-engineered EMP bombs combined with reverse-engineered alien power cores, they targeted orbital satellites, communication networks, and energy grids. Entire sections of the Xylaris fleet were rendered immobile. Human drones darted among the disabled ships, striking with precision. The enemy, once confident in their dominance, was now faltering. The turning point came in the skies over New York City. The Xylaris had concentrated their remaining fleet to crush the city, hoping to break human morale. Instead, they encountered hundreds of smaller human ships, agile and unpredictable, armed with modified alien weaponry and coordinated by real-time intelligence from resistance networks. Explosions lit the darkened skyline as humans executed daring maneuvers, drawing enemy ships into traps and disabling them one by one. Colonel Samantha Wright, atop a commandeered rooftop in Manhattan, coordinated ground attacks while her drones provided overhead support. "Push forward. Don't let them regroup," she shouted. Civilians armed with scavenged weapons and makeshift explosives joined the fight, creating chaos the Xylaris had never anticipated. Buildings once occupied by alien forces became battlegrounds, and humans reclaimed them street by street. In orbit, the Aurora and its sister ships launched a direct assault on the Xylaris command vessel, the flagship of Grand Admiral Vors. Energy beams and pulse bombs struck its hull. The humans weren't just fighting, they were improvising in ways the aliens could not predict. Shields faltered, weapons went offline, and the massive ship drifted helplessly. Jackson Kim's ship took the lead. "For Earth," he said, firing the final charge that disabled the flagship's core systems. Vors's command over his fleet collapsed. On the ground, human fighters took control of key alien installations. Across continents, coordinated uprisings disabled remaining Xylaris strongholds. Cities once thought lost were illuminated again by human ingenuity, as power grids were restored, communication networks repaired, and civilian life slowly returned. Grand Admiral Vors, finally grasping the scale of human defiance, sent a desperate message: "We surrender. Your species is formidable." Jackson Kim intercepted it and relayed it to Earth Command: "They underestimate us no longer. Humanity wins." In the aftermath, leaders from every continent gathered at a reconstructed United Earth Council. They drafted new treaties, rebuilt infrastructure, and organized a planetary defense network capable of protecting Earth and assisting other developing civilizations. The Xylaris, once arrogant and dismissive, were now allies under strict supervision, forced to acknowledge humanity's ingenuity, determination, and adaptability. Commander Jackson Kim, General Maria Rodriguez, Colonel Samantha Wright, and engineers like Dr. Annika Petrov walked the streets of liberated cities. Children played among rebuilt parks, citizens repaired buildings, and humanity's spirit shone brighter than ever. Humans had survived the impossible. They had fought, adapted, and united. They had faced a superior alien force and emerged victorious, not by raw power alone, but by the most human quality of all: ingenuity, resilience, and refusal to surrender. As night fell and stars lit the sky, humans looked upward, not in fear, but in determination. They had earned their place among the stars. Not as conquered subjects, but as guardians, creators, and fighters. Humanity had proven that even against an enemy who thought them weak, their spirit could not be broken. And across the galaxy, civilizations once silent now whispered the same truth: humans, they are not to be underestimated.